Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah, my voice is not so strong, so you can give me a little more than usual. Jaya Rama Dava Kandaviyare Jaya Rama Dava Kandaviyare Gopi Janapallapa Kivadadade Gopi Janapallapa Kivadadade Yashodanandana Bhattachandranjana Yashodanandana Bhattachandranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Rama Dava Kandaviyare Jaya Rama Dava Kandaviyare Gopi Janapallapa Kivadadade Gopi Janapallapa Kivadadade Yashodanandana Bhattachandranjana Yashodanandana Bhattachandranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Rama Madhava Kandavihare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitya Haribo, 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 Nitya Haribo. Jai Gaura Premanandi Ganta Chimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanandi. Can you give me this? I have brought some. Oh yeah, it is warm. Okay, good. 26. Yes. Like that. Om Gyantimandasya Gyananjalashalakaya Chakshur Militam Dina Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Sthapanam Yena Bhuttale Swayam Rupakaramayam Nanati Svavanantikam Namam Vishnubhara Kashyapisa Bhuttale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachaini Nivashisha Shunyavadi Paschatari Shatarine Vanchakopa Tubasha Kripa Sinubevacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare hare-rama, hare-rama, rama-rama, hare-hare. So to begin with, let me express my joy and gratitude that I can once again visit you here in Slovenia, in Ljubljana. It must be about, maybe 5 years ago or something that I came last. At least 4, maybe 5, I can't remember. So now finally pandemic is over and we can move around again, so it feels good. Can I ask you ladies just to move a little closer? You can move your chair. We're a relatively small group and I like to reach people, but if they sit so far away, then I feel I cannot even reach you. Okay, so we are reading 10th Canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 26. Yes, it has quite a long purport, my God. So many pages. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam. Satyavratam Satyaparam Trisatyam. Satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye. Satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye. Satyasya satyam rita satyanitram. Satyasya satyam rita satyanitram. Satyatmakam tvam sharanam papanna. Satyatmakam tvam sharanam papanna. Satyavatam satyaparam trisatyam. Satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye. Satyasya satyam rita satyanitram. Satyatmakam tvam sharanam papanna. Somebody chant. Ladies. Okay, so many times Satya in the verse, it gives maybe already some idea. I mean, I'm just counting, it's 8 times it comes here. So, yes. Word for word, Satyavratam, the personality of Godhead, who never deviates from his vow. Satyaparam, who is the absolute truth, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Satyam param dhimahi. Tri Satyam, he is always present as the absolute truth. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, during its maintenance, and even after its annihilation. satyasya, of all relative truth, which are emanations from the absolute truth, Krishna. Yonim, the cause, nihitam, entered, cha, and satya, in the factors that create this material world, namely the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Satyasya, of all that is accepted as the truth. Satyam, the Lord is the original truth. Rita Satyanitam, He is the origin of whatever truth is pleasing. In brackets, Sunetam. Satya Atmakam, everything pertaining to the Lord is truth. Sat Chitananda, His body is truth, His knowledge is truth, and His pleasure is truth. Tvam, unto you, O Lord. Sharanam, offering our full surrender. Prapanaha, we are completely under your protection. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The demigods prayed, O Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the 3 phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antayami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone, for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. So since the verse and also the purport are both very long, what I usually do in these cases is that I comment a little bit and then read and comment and read. Because otherwise, by the time we finish the whole purport, we can hardly even remember what was in the beginning, right? Kali Yuga memory. But one thing we can see already, that so often this word satya or satyam is coming in the verse, and which means truth. And also very often, when we have a purport from Prabhupada, we can count how often certain terms appear. And that gives us already some indication what Prabhupada is emphasizing. So I was counting just in the verse and first part of the purport 14 times truth or true or truthful comes. Then there's another section where 10 times the term protection comes. And then we go back to truth another 10 times. So that obviously gives already an indication what the topic really is, And so here we have the demigods and sages appearing invisibly in Devaki's room, and they are praying to the Lord in the room and glorifying him. And throughout the Bhagavatam, we often find that this battle is there between the divine and the demoniac, right? So here we have Kamsa doing his atrocities and harassing everybody, the demoniac, and then versa, the divine, Krishna appearing in the womb of Devaki. The demigods are calling out to the Lord, and. So this is basically the theme of life in the material world, we can say. There's always this battle between the divine and the demoniac. And sometimes it appears that the demons are winning, right? So then everybody runs to the Lord, oh, please do something. Soon we have Lord Nrsingadev's appearance, so we had the same thing there. And then, all right, the Lord appears and adjusts things again. So, and then sometimes, the divine elements are prospering, but then something happens and the demons are attacking again. So, we have this theme going throughout the Bhagavatam. And of course, that is also taking place in ourselves. We have to, especially Lord Nrsingadev appearing soon, so we have to understand this is not some interesting stories there and, oh yes, very nice. But no, we all have this demoniac nature also within our hearts. So that's Kali Yuga, demon and devotee take birth in the same person, And also in our lives, we can observe this too, that sometimes the divine is more prominent and we're in good shape and then maybe the demoniac natures take over, that we want to enjoy and be in tamaguna and all of a sudden our interests are sidetracked and we hardly show up at the temple, or we may even face problems, old habits come up again, we become spiritually a little weak, we don't have taste for chanting anymore, and then the demoniac elements are prospering, so to speak. And yes, and then sometimes Krishna arranges something, some calamity, and boo, that may shake us up again, and then, okay, let's take shelter of Krishna again. So, we also can observe this. So it depends who we feed and support in our hearts, whether we feed the demoniac elements or whether we feed and nourish the bhakti ladder. So that is up to us. We have that individual choice and we can do as we like, basically. So Krishna gives us that little bit of independence to set our own priorities, But in the verse, Prabhupada makes this, or not Prabhupada, but the verse makes this point that indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. So when I was reading this verse, this was standing out for me, this statement, So that, yes, for hypocrisy there is no room actually in devotional life. So hypocrisy meaning we are pretending, we are cheating, we make something very highly elevated, we make it cheap, imitation, some sahaja mentality or something, or some showing off how advanced I am and all this. So these are all more subtle forms of truthfulness, that we don't do these things, And Kali Yuga is the age of cheating and hypocrisy, So that tendency in Kali Yuga is strongly there. And if we look in our hearts, we may also detect some little tinges of this, And as we also know, truthfulness is really the last leg of religion, right? Yes, the last one. So we better preserve that last leg of religion, And there is also this point that even, because here Krishna is also glorified by fulfilling his vows, his promises. So this is indeed one aspect of truthfulness, that one sticks to one's promise, one's word of honor, right? Yes. But this is really not so well understood anymore, that we think, well, okay, I said I would cook the Sunday feast next weekend, but sorry, something else came up. I can't do it anymore. So this is actually, unacceptable in Vaishnav life. That once we make a commitment, we give our word, yes, I will do this, we have to be willing to put our life upside down if it's required to maintain our promise. Actually, that's the Vaishnav mood. But see, in a culture where sense gratification is the goal in life, then the main criteria is what pleases me, what's pleasing to my mind and senses, and what's convenient. And then if something is not so convenient and not so pleasing to my mind and senses, then, oh, sorry, I changed my mind. It came all different than I expected, right? But according to Vaishnav mood, this is unacceptable, And these things enter when the goal becomes sense enjoyment. Then this whole idea of sticking to one's word of honor gets lost. And we just do as we like. And we do this in small things, what to speak of the big things, The initiation vows, the marriage vow. Yes, with this person I will stick through thick and thin. And this is all lost and forgotten. That subtle form of truthfulness. I think people don't even connect it with truthfulness. They don't even realize this is actually not truthful. And in regards to Bali Maharaj, the Leela of Bali Maharaj, where he is promising 3 steps of land to Vamanadev, and then these 3 steps of land, they really turned out differently than he expected, right? They were huge. So he could have had all reasons to say, oh, sorry, I think I can't stick to this, It comes all differently than I expected, But no, he sets that example that once we give our word, even though Sukacharya, his spiritual master, actually advised him not to follow his promise. He recognized, oh, this must be Lord Vishnu here behind it, so that will get you into trouble, and. So he actually advised him not to stick to his word of honor, but he did. And he made this statement, which I copied in my little verse book here. He was saying, there's nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. You know? So he was saying, Bali Maharaj was saying, I will be a liar, a cheater, if I go back on my promise. How can I do that? You know? And then in the next verse he's saying, I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself, as much as I fear cheating a brahmana. You know, which means not sticking to one's promise. You know, so very strong words. You know, very heavy. And also in bhakti-yoga, this is a nice book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also likes to speak about duplicity. You know, how duplicity is such an impediment in devotional life, you know, to be duplicitous. And he says, one should give up the association of dharma-dvajis, the hypocritically devout, with special care. So those hypocritically devout means they're devoted, they pretend to be devoted, but actually in their heart they're not. Those who accept the external signs of Dharma but do not actually follow Dharma or are called Dharma-dvajis. In devotional service, this hypocrisy ruins everything, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Better to associate with sense enjoyers. For in this whole world there is no worse association than the Dharma-dvajis. The deceitful Dharma-dvajis accept the signs of Dharma with a desire to cheat the world, and to fulfill their crooked desires they cheat the foolish. Yeah, so very, very strong words. You know, better to associate with a sense enjoyer than with a pretender, because at least the sense enjoyer is honest. I like to enjoy life, you know. So at least he doesn't pretend. He's honest. He's straightforward. That's me. I like to enjoy. But those who pretend, you know, to be so devoted, but actually they really hang on to, you know, the sense gratification, and in that way they're kind of pretending, cheating. It's all pretty subtle, you know, in our case maybe. But yeah, so these are the words, you know, in regards to the importance of truthfulness, you know, that, we have to walk our talk, you know. If we say something, then we have to act accordingly, you know, not say one thing and do another thing, you know. We have to stick to our words, our promises, our vows, and yeah. It's actually what we call being, having integrity, you know, that it's a subtle form of inner truthfulness, and also truthfulness to ourselves, right? That we don't just say one thing and do another thing or something, you know. Yes. Yes. So, and then also in the verse it says, you know, Krishna is glorified as being equal to all, you know. And this is also one of the qualities of a devotee. A devotee should also be equally disposed to everyone. And that comes because of the transcendental vision of seeing everyone as spirit soul, you know, and so one soul may be more conditioned, one may be less conditioned. In one soul the demoniac elements may be more present, but that doesn't mean we reject that person or something. So if we have that spiritual vision, then we can be equal to all. But nevertheless, those who are more keen to serve the Lord, you know, to those we also may give more attention, like Krishna is also doing that. And we may think, oh, just see, it's not being equal to all, Krishna is giving more attention to those who are devoted to him. But no, that is just a natural reciprocation in loving exchanges, So, but nevertheless, that openness and equality to all is still there, And then also interesting in the verse, it says, and your instructions apply for everyone for all time. So that's what it means, that the instructions are transcendental. They're there for all time and for everyone. Doesn't matter where we live in the world, So yeah, sometimes we also may get this idea that, maybe Prabhupada didn't know how the mood is in the Western world, and this is Kali Yuga, this is not valid for us today, it's not the Vedic times, or something, right? But now, Prabhupada's books are the law books for the next 10,000 years for civilized life, So, yeah, we have to have that faith, It's a question of faith in Prabhupada. If we have unflinching faith in Prabhupada, then we would never dare to come up with some ideas like that, Even though, of course, we can say there's always the principles and then there's the details. So the principles are there for everyone at all times, but then maybe the details, it manifests differently according to time, place, and circumstance. But that requires quite some intelligent discrimination to understand what's the detail and what's the principle, Not so easy. Often we get a bit mixed up and we make the detail into a principle, or the principle into a detail. And then, it becomes some mix-up, some porridge there, Anyway, that's a whole topic in itself, which we're not going to get into it. So I think I'll better start reading the purport. It's pretty long. Okay, let's start. The demigods or devotees know perfectly well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the true substance, whether within this material world or in the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam begins, therefore, with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Satyam Param Dimahi. Vasudeva Krishna is the Param Satyam, the supreme truth. The supreme truth can be approached or understood by the supreme method, as declared by the supreme truth. Bhakti-yamam abhijanati yavandyastasmi tatvada, Bhagavad Gita 1855. Bhakti, devotional service, is the only way to understand the absolute truth. For protection, therefore, the demigods surrendered to the supreme truth, not to the relative truth. There are persons who worship various demigods, but the supreme truth, Krishna, declares in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavatu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpa medasham. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Worship of demigods may be useful for a limited time, but the result is antavat, perishable. This material world is impermanent. The demigods are impermanent, and the benedictions derived from the demigods are also impermanent. whereas the living entity is eternal. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetanam. Every living entity, therefore, must search for eternal happiness, not temporary happiness. The words Satyam Param Dhimahi indicate that one should search for the absolute truth, not the relative truth. Yeah, so in this first paragraph and the verse, we get 14 times truth. So I already said a few little things about the truth and being truthful. But yeah, Prabhupada makes the point about eternal truth and relative truth, temporary truth, right? Eternal happiness, temporary happiness. And yes, demigods, Prabhupada connects with the demigod worship. You know, they may give some little temporary relief, blessings, benedictions, you know, like in other parts of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, they can give an extra blanket in the prison of material life, an extra blanket or an extra cup of tea or something, but they can't release the prisoners, you know. So what's really the use of worshipping them? They only give some little temporary relief. And I remember when I came to Krishna consciousness and I heard, I believe it's the second offense to chanting, right? To consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. I was thinking to myself, oh, thank God I don't have that problem, you know, because we people in the West, we are not into demigod worship. But, the big but, our demigods have different names, you know. They're not called Shiva, Brahma, Ganesh, Durga, or whatever, but they have different names. Facebook, internet, astrology, Ayurveda, Vastu, you know. I mean, we can say they're also giving some temporary benefit, you know, like the demigods give temporary benefit. But if we start thinking that these things are more important than chanting the holy name, you know, then we actually commit that offense. And, you know, you may remember I do like to conduct holy name retreats. We had one here in the mountains. Was anybody there of you? No. Yes? You were there? Yeah, about 5 years ago or something. Yeah, so there, you know, so often when I try and encourage people to come to the holy name retreat, oh, I've got something else really important. That's our disease. We think there's so many things in this world which are more important than deepening our relationship with the holy name. You know, that's our problem. So we, you know, we are not free from this tendency of, you know, worshipping other things, setting them on first priority, you know, yes. So, yeah, it's good to understand this in a more subtle and deeper way, you know, yes. Yes, so let us continue reading. When do you usually finish? You don't know, I'm sure. Oh, you're not from here. Where are you from?
From Ukraine.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw Mies for you.
Huh?
I'm Mies for you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Lviv.
Lviv, okay. Okay, let's continue reading. I think 9 is, even though here it says 8:45. Well, let me continue reading. At the latest at 9, we'll zoom over to the breakfast. While offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsingadev, Prahlad Maharaj said, Balasya neha sharanam pitaro Nrsinga natasya chagadam udanvati majato. Now, Generally, it is understood that the protectors for a child are his parents, but this is not actually the fact. The real protector is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah? Oh, you're following there. Good. Taptasya tatprati vibhirya ihanjasestas tavat vibhutanu vitam tvad upekshitanam. Bhagavatam 7:9-19. If neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a child, despite the presence of his parents, will suffer, and a diseased person, despite all medical help, will die. In this material world, where there is a struggle for existence, men have invented many means for protection. That's definitely a fact. But these are useless if the Supreme Personality of Godhead rejects them. Therefore, the demigods purposefully say, Satyatmakam tvam sharanam papanna. Real protection can be obtained from you, O Lord, and therefore we surrender unto you. The Lord demands that one surrender unto him, Sarvadaman Parityajam Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. And he further says, Sakrit eva papanoyas tavam smiti chayachate abhayam sarvadam tasmai tadam yetat vatam mama. If one surrenders unto me sincerely, saying, My Lord, from this day on I am fully surrendering unto you, I always give him protection. That is my vow. From Ramayana, Yudhakanda, 1833. The demigods offered their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he had now appeared in the womb of his devotee Devaki to protect all the devotees harassed by Kamsa and his lieutenants. Thus the Lord acts as Satyavrata. The protection given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be compared to the protection given by the demigods. It is said that Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but when Lord Ramchandra went to kill him, Lord Shiva could not give him protection. Yeah, so in this section the word protection comes about 10 times, And yeah, very true how Prabhupada says, in the modern days, people invent so many means of protection, all kinds of insurances and security systems and alarm systems and whatnot, to protect, And also we have this, I think it is Bengali statement, Rake Krishna Marike, Mare Krishna Rakike, so if Krishna wants to kill you, nobody can save you. And if Krishna wants to save you, nobody can kill you. Yes. But again, it's a question of faith, And also we cannot be naive and simplistic that actually the ultimate protection Krishna is giving, the highest level of protection we should be praying for, is to remember him at all times, no matter what comes, The body Krishna may protect or not protect, well, sooner or later the body will be, destroyed anyway. So, but because we are so attached to the body, that's why we always pray to Lord Nrsingadev to protect the body, But no, we should be praying that he protects our remembrance of him, that he is kindly appearing on the level of our mind, when it's the time to leave, because that is actually not in our hands, like Sarvasya Cham Vidisani Vito Matak Smita Jnanam Purnam Cha. So there Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. So it comes from Krishna. We can only try our best and we develop our loving relationship, but it's up to Krishna to give us that remembrance and that crucial phase. And that is the ultimate level of protection, right? How far did I read? Here, I'll continue reading because we still got a few pages here. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada, followed by many other demigods, had now invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select prayers which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of devotional desires. The first words they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vow. So now we're going back to the topic of truth and truthfulness. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends upon this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord had taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill this vow. They were very glad that the Lord was appearing to fulfill his mission, and they addressed him as Satyam Param, or the Supreme Absolute Truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the Absolute Truth. Krishna is the Absolute Truth. Relative truth is not truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing. And when there is creation, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the Supreme Truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there is any reputation within this material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there is any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the source of all relative truth. Relative and absolute, you know? Yes. Yeah, I mean, this, of course, can be also elaborated more, how in this material world what we think is truth today, and tomorrow it's outdated. You know, often it depends on the political system or in the science, field of science. So the latest discoveries from today, they will be all outdated tomorrow, and then there will be a new fact and a new truth. You know, so very relative what people are calling here the truth. But yes, there is also an absolute truth which does not change and which is always valid eternally, past, present, future. That's why it's transcendental. It's beyond the three modes of material nature, and that, you know, people should be striving for, to understand the absolute truth. Devotees, therefore, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, pray, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, worshipping the Adi Purusha, the Supreme Truth, Govinda. Everything, everywhere is performed in terms of three principles. Jnana, bala, kriya. Knowledge, strength, and activity. In every field, if there's not full knowledge, full strength, and full activity, an endeavor is never successful. This is also a practical thing to remember. You know, if we want to be successful, there's to be full knowledge, full strength, and full activity. Yes. Knowledge is not enough. We also have to do something, you know. Therefore, if one wants success in everything, one must be backed by these three principles. So many points in this purport. In the Vedas, Svetashvata Upanishad 6.8, there is this statement about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Natasya kayam karashana chavidyate, natat samasabhyadikasadrishyate, parasya shaktir vividaiva shruyate, svabhaviki jnana balakriyacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to do anything personally, for he has such potencies that anything he wants done will be done perfectly well through the control of material nature. Sabhaviki jnana balakriyacha. Similarly, those who are engaged in the service of the Lord are not meant to struggle for existence. The devotees who are fully engaged in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, more than 10,000 men and women all over the world, have no steady or permanent occupation, yet we actually see that they are maintained very opulently. Well, I guess meanwhile, many devotees do have permanent occupation. But yeah, Prabhupada simply makes this point that he also says one should invent some form of earning one's livelihood. You know, one should just come up with some idea. But I mean, the fact that Krishna maintains us should not be misunderstood. It doesn't mean we just sit and twiddle our thumbs and do nothing. But we do have to do our duty, you know. And as a grihastha, it's the duty, especially of the man, to earn a livelihood. So we can't just say, oh, Krishna, it's all up to Krishna, he will do, you know. No. So also Krishna, you know, acts through his instructions, you know. Yes, they're maintained very opulently. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:22, Anyanyas chintayantu mam jana payupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam yaham. For those who worship me with devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, I carry to them what they lack and I preserve what they have. The devotees have no anxiety over what will happen next, where they will stay or what they will eat, for everything is maintained and supplied by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has promised, Kunteya padijanihi name bhakta panashyati. O son of Kunti, declared boldly that my devotee never perishes. 9:31. From all angles of vision, therefore, in all circumstances, if one fully surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of one struggling for existence. In this connection, the commentary by Sripad Madhvacharya, who quotes from the Tantra Bhagavat, is very meaningful. Satchadpa uttamam bhuyat anandantiti vaivadet yeti jnanam samudishtam punamandadrishishtata atrivacha taradanat satyatya chotyate vibhu. Explaining the word satyasya yonim, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna is the avatari, the origin of all incarnations. All incarnations are the absolute truth. Yet, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the origin of all incarnations. Dipachi eva hi dashantaram abhyupetya dipayete. Brahma Samhita 546. There may be many lamps, all equal in power, yet there is a first lamp, a second lamp, a third lamp, and so on. Similarly, there are many incarnations who are compared to lamps, but the first lamp, the original personality of Godhead, is Krishna. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. The demigods must offer worship in obedience to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one might argue that since the Supreme Personality, Supreme Godhead, was within the womb of Devaki, he was also coming in a material body. Why then should he be worshipped? Why should one make a distinction between an ordinary living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead? These questions are answered in the following verses. Such a long purport. Yes. So, I guess time is up, and I have made a few comments. Shall we ask if there's maybe one question? Just one, if there is. I mean, this purport is enough to have several lectures on, you know. I mean, some temples do this when they have the long purport, they only read half, and then the next class giver finishes it. But I wasn't sure, so I thought, all right, let's do it this way. Do we have anything?
Thank you for your seminar about that.
Okay.
It was in Ukraine. It's very helpful for me. It was very helpful for me because I was left my body last year, and I remember Krishna when I left body actually.
Who left their body?
I'm left my body.
But you're still here.
Yeah, and because I remember Krishna, and
Okay.
there was 4 options for new body, and there was no option with Krishna, and I start to pray and to protest. Actually, I chant my round good, I preach a lot, and etc. And there was appearance 5th option. And it provides to this body.
Okay.
And I hear the voice of Srila Prabhupada, and he said that actually you do it, you preaching and you chant your rounds not for Krishna, for yourself, and because you think it's the right way. Okay. So I'd like to ask you how to do service for Krishna actually, because it's very subtle thing to do it for Krishna or for yourself. And all this verse was about truth, truthfulness. So I'd like to ask you how to really do it for Krishna, not for myself.
Well, I mean, it is a gradual process of purification, you know. We may be coming with so many attachments and desires and material motives, and as we follow the process sincerely and also under the guidance of senior devotees, you know, then gradually some purification takes place. But an important part of it is also that we have to be introspective and reflect, you know, because usually, you know, especially an important part of the whole purifying process is to serve in the association of devotees, because that's where the egos are getting rubbed and, you know, and irritated and all that. So if we serve in association of devotees, usually, you know, our our anarthas, our material attachments, they come to the surface. You know?
Yeah, and I understand.
In the form, in the form of some conflicts, some misunderstanding. Oh, I was scheduled to do this, so what is this? And so, you know, then we realize, oh, I'm not humble servant. I have my motives, you know. So if we do service for ourselves, our own pleasure, sooner or later Krishna arranges a situation where it becomes visible to us. But then we also have to be introspective, and we have to reflect, and we have to realize, oh, here I am. You know, I had some ambitions here and some expectations, and then we have to pray to Krishna, to call out to, you know, to him to remove these attachments, you know. But whereas, you know, if we are not introspective, then we always blame the others for everything. We take shelter of our false ego, and we point the finger at others. Oh, I'm in the right, it was her, it was him, it was the external situation, and you know. So, and then we cannot really, you know, purify the heart of the subtle things. So, you know, chanting the holy name, hearing the Bhagavatam is one track, you know, but then the other track is serving within introspection according to Vaishnava culture and etiquette, you know, and then we gradually become purified, you know. So it's a gradual process, you know. But that introspection, reflection in honesty, looking within our hearts, what is my, you know, false ego and mind whispering there, you know, what's my motive, why did I do this, why did I say this, and you know, so it requires introspection, you know. Otherwise, if we're not willing to do this internal work, then very easily our chanting is like an elephant taking bath, you know. Elephant taking bath, when he comes out, he immediately takes with the trunk or this dust, throws it back on his back. So that's what our chanting will be like. You know, we chant, but then we fall back into all these envious false ego patterns of behaviors, and then we are trapped in them. And then we actually can't really get the full benefit the holy name is carrying. So it's a whole thing. So this has to be parallel, you know.
Is it question of purification that I have no taste for pleasure Krishna? I don't have this taste. I don't want to pleasure Krishna. You know, my life external looks like I'm doing everything for Krishna because I travel a lot, I preach a lot, and I try to chant my rounds nice. I try to chant it good, but I don't want to pleasure. Please Krishna. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have no this desire.
So this is like that because we want to please ourselves, you know, because we want to enjoy ourselves. So that's why that desire to please Krishna is not there. So, and also Krishna is a little far away, so that's why we start with Guru, with Prabhupada, with the devotees. You know? That we should please the devotees. And that's one of the main secrets of success in devotional life, that to serve and please the devotees, you know? So, because the devotees are so dear to Krishna, they're more dear to him than his own life, you know? So, because the devotees, the purer they are, the more they have conquered his heart. They have stolen Krishna's heart. You know, so if we please the devotees, that pleases Krishna even more. So, and yeah, that's more tangible that we do our service to want to please the devotees around us, you know, and then we get the blessings. It's 9:15. I think we'll better finish. I don't want to get into trouble here. Okay, so tonight we do have a program also, right? It was not announced this morning. So tonight we meet at 7 on the topic of prajalpa. Prajalpa, it will destroy this movement, was a statement by Prabhupada actually. So yes, please come back tonight, 7 o'clock. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki. Gaura Premanandi, Hare Hare Krishna.